This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh,
Takes
dead
a hop
shank.
off the path.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
Well, I would like to welcome European stalwart, Ryder Cup member, and the winner of 20 professional events around the world, Barry Lane, to the Sub 70 Podcast Pro. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Glad to be here.
Well, let's, big topic in September here in the States and probably in Europe as well. Let's jump into the Ryder Cup if you're okay with that. And then we'll get to everything you've accomplished as well. But kind of a shift here a little bit this season. What was just your assessment of what you saw up at Whistling Straits as somebody who's competed in the event and been around professional golf for such a long time?
Actually, the American team looked like a European team in the respect that, they all seemed to get on. I know there was a couple of bits in the press about DeChambeau and Koepka, but actually, if you look at near enough all of the team, they all play. They're all similar ages. I mean, obviously DJ's a little bit older, but most of them are similar ages. They all play college golf together. They've all known each other for a very long time. It's a totally different, how would I put it, not set up. It just seemed so different. It seemed that they were getting on. Unbelievable golfers, obviously. And I think in the next two Ryder Cups, I think that the Europeans were going to struggle. It doesn't matter how well they play. I think, you have basically 10 or 12 superstars playing in the Ryder Cup, and we have 10 or 12 very good players. We have a couple of superstars, but nothing in the respect of the American team. I think it was a phenomenal team. It was played in very good spirit. But you could just see the camaraderie amongst the players was so much better than it had been over the years. And so much talent. It was amazing. It was great to watch. I mean, it's obviously disappointing as a European, but we've had a great run. But I think we might struggle the next couple until we get a new group of players coming through. It's a bit like, America. You've had this year was the new group of players, everybody quite young. And I'm just hoping that, we get some really, really good players. We have got some very good young players, but they, at the moment, haven't quite got the experience of the guys in America. They play in Europe. They might play the odd major, but they got to get in that top 50 to get in those world events. And I think that makes a huge difference because then they will play with these guys 4 or 7 times a year. So that when the Ryder Cup does come round, they're not going to be, as nervous or they've got the experience. I think that's the thing.
When they talk about that, golf is such a selfish game at times, and they talk about the camaraderie between the players. And this is just, I've often wondered this, right? Does it really matter, or how you're saying it does make a difference from what it sounds like you're saying. How does it make a difference in the sense that for the rest of the year, it's go out and win? And how does the camaraderie make that much difference when most of the time it's not about that in this game? In other words, I always thought I wouldn't need to motivate any of my players, right? If I was the captain, they just grabbed me off the street, I'd be like, you're playing this person, go play professional golf. Explain to me, and I think it's an interesting topic, of how it's such a big part of that week where most of the time it's, you just go do your thing and play as good as you can play.
Well, the thing is that out of the 5 matches, only one of them is you're playing on your own. So the other 4 matches you're playing foursomes or 4-ball if you're going to play all the matches. So you're playing with a partner. And that is, demographic is so different. When I played, it was a long time ago now, but, I'd never played foursomes in my life, or alternate shots, as you say in America. I've never played that. And I thought that was really difficult to play. I was lucky enough in the 4-ball. I played with Bernard Langer in the first day, and 4-ball was fine but alternate shots is very, very difficult. I just think that if you do play on your own all year round, and actually it's very nice to have a partner out there to give you some support. I know you've got your caddy and stuff, but it's just the demographics. It's so different. You're playing for your country, you're not playing for yourself, and I think that you you have to rely on your team to inspire you in your team room. And if you're don't know these guys, then there's nobody there to inspire you. And if you are very much an individual, I think then you'll be a bit lost in the team room. And I think that's one of the problems why you've had a big problem, is that you've had 2 or 3 superstars and obviously 9 fantastic players, but this year you had 12 superstars. And they all get on, and they've all known each other since they were kids. And I think that is an amazing thing, and I can see it going on. They seem to enjoy themselves. They seem to know each other. They chatted, they laughed, all the way up the build-up to the Ryder Cup. They all were looking forward to it. And where in the past it's always been a bit, Tiger's there. He's on a bit of a pedestal and feels a bit of a pedestal up there, and and I think that the guys may be a little bit frightened of them or just didn't feel comfortable. But it seemed that they all felt very comfortable this year.
Yeah, and I was just bringing up that point to see your thought of it. I mean, there's something to it, right? Because like the great European teams, when they were on that run, you could tell they would all have fun at a pub. If you just took it down, like would they have fun at a pub together? You would say yes. Those American teams from 10 years ago, you'd be like, those guys ain't hanging out, right? You could just get that sense.
And I think, I didn't play that much in America, but I played quite a few tournaments. But it seemed that, whenever, and no disrespect or anything, but, whenever I was over there, it just seemed that the guys, you went into a player's room, where you had lunch and stuff, and the guys would be sitting at separate tables where, you go into a player's lounge in Europe and you'd have all the Spaniards sitting together and a couple of Swedish guys in amongst them. The French were sitting over there, maybe a couple of English guys and the Scottish guys. So everybody sat with everybody. But it seemed in America, people were very much individual. And that's my observation, 90s and the 2000s when I, played a little bit over there. It was just the demographics were so different. But this year you can see these guys, even on the golf course when they're playing against each other, they seem to be happy if one of their mates wins. And I think, when they're with social media and, Instagram, and they're tweeting what a great win by, Dustin Johnson, or what a great win by a lot of the youngsters that are out there playing, Justin Thomas, all the guys are so happy for each other. And I think because they've grown up with each other, they've had the respect for each other, and they are genuinely happy if somebody does well. And I think you give it 100% on the golf course. But if you give it 100% and you didn't win, you have to be happy for the guy that beat you, because he's giving it 100%. He's just played better than you that week. And I just think that is exactly the attitude that the guys have got at the moment. And there's so many, you've got so much depth in America, I think, of so many fine players.
And you think about like playing with Tiger or Phil, if you haven't been on tour for a terribly long period of time, man, you wouldn't want to disappoint those guys, right, when you're playing in Ryder Cup. I imagine the pressure, like you said, an alternate shot would be staggering if you're...
Yeah, I think so. And I think, because these guys have been together all the time, they're not, they're mates. So,
right.
But when you're playing with, if you're number 25 in the world and you're playing with number 1 in the world and you've only played a couple of stroke play events the first 2 days with him or whatever, you don't really know him. And I think it's such a big thing for the Ryder Cup. I know it's only once every 2 years and you play the President's Cup, but it's just that, we don't play any sort of other tournaments where it's a 4-ball tournament or alternate shot tournaments, but we all know each other. And I think in the years gone by, we all travelled together through Europe. We didn't have our own private planes or we had 2 hotels or 3 hotels for one tournament. We all pretty much flew into the same airport. We all got a bus to the hotel, and we were all on a bus to the golf course each day, whether it was in Madrid or Barcelona or in Portugal, in Lisbon, or in any other countries in Europe. So we all travelled together. So we all had dinner together. We all stayed in the same hotel. So we got to know each other, and I think that's a big difference in America, where everybody stays. A lot of guys stay at private homes. A lot of guys stay in. There's so many hotels and different hotels in America. So if you don't know somebody, you're actually never going to meet them, because you'll be sitting on your own having lunch. You've got your own entourage. Well, in Europe, it's not like that at all.
Well, and if you're Tiger, right, the whole idea is he was never going to let a competitor in. He does it now in his 40s, but in his prime, I mean, he's not dealing with any other player. they're all beneath him
No,
at
it's
some
different
level. The work
mentality.
for him, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Totally different mentality.
Yeah.
And, if you have to have that to be the best player in the world, which he was, or for many years, and whether he was the best player ever, I don't know, but he was seriously good, or is seriously good, and I hope, that things turn out right for him and he can get back out and play. But he was different. He was very focused on what he was doing. He didn't care what anybody else was doing.
Was Faldo like that?
And I think that would have been quite difficult for him in the Ryder Cup.
Yeah. So how did Faldo do it, right? Because in his prime, he seemed like he had a bit of that. I'm sticking my own lane, but yet he could turn it off in the Ryder Cup. It appears because his record was great and everyone liked playing with him. So he seemed to have a sense of maybe when to turn it off a little bit. Is that a fair assessment, to become a team player, then go back to being Nick Faldo, number one player in the world when necessary?
Yeah. I think he had some sort of an idea of how to turn it off. I don't think he turned it off the whole time, but he got the job done, and obviously, I actually never played with him in the Ryder Cup, so he was on my team, but I didn't. He played with Monty that year, and I, whether because he was obviously number one in the world, he was a superstar and whatever, and we didn't really see him that much. A bit like I suppose Tiger, he was in a different hotel or whatever. But at the Ryder Cup, he seemed to be. He was himself, but he was a little bit less than himself. I would say that's the best way to describe him. He was a team player for that week, and then the next week he just walked by you as if he'd never knew you.
Hey,
and that's true.
It worked for him, right? It worked for him.
Yeah, it worked for him. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I was going to ask you about this too, and this is maybe out in left field of an idea, but do you think the golf course setups, if you take like what they had in Paris, that really seemed to benefit the European team, then we make this like no rough, wide open birdie fest. Do you think it's starting to potentially give each home team such an advantage that, I don't know, do you eventually have to go back and have somebody just make it more neutral so it's not such an advantage for the home team? Because it seems like they're really starting to get the golf courses, more than I ever remember, it's set up to your advantage. And then
well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we've got to, it's a very big tournament, and the thing is, you've got to try and get the same. We don't hit it as far as you, so we would rather. I would say that the Europeans are more accurate drivers. The golf courses that we play, we play in a different country pretty much every week. So we play in different grasses all the time. In Spain, where the grains on the greens. I mean, I know you play in Florida and California is totally different, but climates and different golf courses. So the one in France, we've been playing there, the French Open, for 20 odd years. We know what it's like, and we know how difficult the course is. But if you really narrow it down and make the rough really thick, it doesn't matter how far you hit the ball, as long as you get it on the fairway. So the course may be only 7,000 yards. So it's not, for these guys. But if you start hitting it in that rough, you can't get to the green. Where you look at, where they played Whistling Straits this year, where, yes, it was, if you hit it a long way offline, you could be in all sorts of trouble. But actually, the rough wasn't very thick. I remember when I played, they set up the course not difficult around the greens to chip, because they felt that if they made the rough really long around the greens, then it didn't give anybody really an advantage. But if it was a neutral, then if you were a good chipper, you would chip perfectly. But when it's really deep rough like US Open, it's a bit of a lottery. So they didn't want that. So, I think absolutely that they definitely are setting up the courses to be favourite on one of the teams. And obviously in Europe, they make a big effort to do that. Especially they did it in France. I mean, it was brutal, but you think if you think of the US Open every year, it's pretty brutal. And I think Golf National was the same. It was brutal, but you needed to hit the fairways. And I think the Americans went in there with a gung-ho attitude that actually didn't pay off in the end.
So here's my crazy idea. I'm the captain. Do I now, let's assume in Italy they're going to set it up pretty much the same way. Does my team now change based on that golf course? So does the Ryder Cup start getting two sets of teams? Where you guys next time, if they're going to do the Hazeltine or what they did, because it's working, do you get bombers? right? So now do I bring in Brian? Do I look at the analytics and bring in, let's say I get 6 captains picks and I want 6 guys who qualify. My 6 captains picks are going to be Brian Harmon's and Matt Kuchar's and guys who play that style of golf. And does the Ryder Cup start to evolve where there's both sides have a European squad and both sides have an American squad of what the advantage would be? Is the courses starting to change enough where that literally could be a thought process for a captain?
Absolutely not. I can't see that at all, because the thing is that these bombers, they bomb it 330 yards or something off their tee, but, they can hit a 3-wood 280 yards or 300 yards, and obviously a bit straighter than with that, or a 1-iron they can hit 280 yards. The guys can tone down if they want to, and I think that's the thing they have to do if they're going to play a course like the Golf National. There's, I remember the 10th hole is just a tiny little par 4. I mean, the guys could hit 6-iron, 9-iron, or 6-iron and wedge into the hole, but no, they were going with a rescue or a long iron or driver or everything to try to, get it up there close to the green, but they're missing the fairway. But if they hit 6-iron off the tee, so I think they have to change the mentality. That's all. They don't have to choose some guy who's hit quite short but always hits the fairway, because he hasn't got the shot where, okay, he might drive it 270 yards, but then he might have over 200 yards to the green. Well, he's hitting a 4-iron into that, where one of the other guys who hits it a long way is probably only hitting a 6 or 7. So the guy can hit a 2-iron and an 8-iron, where this guy's hitting a driver and a 4-iron. So you know what I mean? It's not. I think I don't honestly think that the course setup would change the captain's picks, to be honest, because a guy who doesn't hit it very far, if he's not playing very well, it's going to be a tough week. But if somebody bombs it and is not playing particularly well, at least he's bombing it 50 yards past the guy who's only hitting, who's quite short off the tee. So, that's 5-6 clubs into the green. So I think it will just, they will try to set up the course for the Europeans as same as the Americans, the USA try to set it up for the Americans, or pick a course.
Yeah,
I've seen the course that they're playing. I've seen that they played the Italian Open there this year, and it looks like the rough could be very, very deep. It's quite a lot of waste, fescue grass, like at the Open, it can grow to like 3 or 4 feet. So I don't know how they will set it up, but I would think that it would be similar to the French.
Yeah, it makes sense. If I was the European captain, that's what I would do. Look at my strengths and set it up for it.
Absolutely.
Ryder Cup pressure. You've played you've played in majors. Is there a difference? Is that the most pressure-filled event you've ever played in? And what is if that's a true statement, which I don't know if it is or not, probably depends on the player. How much different is it than in contention at the Open Championship or anything like? Is anything else compared to that level of intensity in golf?
I don't know why, but no, there is not. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know why. Whether it is because, as I said earlier, you're playing for 11 other guys in a continent, or in America you're playing for the USA and 11 other guys. I don't know. It is, and the golf actually under that pressure played is absolutely phenomenal. I remember feeling absolutely as if I was going to throw up walking to the first tee on the first day playing with Bernard, and we played Corey Pavin and Lanny Watkins, and I mean 2 real tough guys. And Corey was struggling to get the ball on the tee because he was shaking, and and that gave me so much heart because I thought I was going to be sick on the tee, and my knees wouldn't stay still, and my hands were just, it was unbelievable. But once you get off after the first couple of holes, you're still nervous, but then you're playing golf. So, it's like when you're in contention, you might don't sleep well the night before, but once you get going, you're still nervous, but you're playing your game. And the golf played in the Ryder Cup is absolutely phenomenal under the duress that you are, and you think it will never go, but and it doesn't go. It stays with you the whole time. But it's an amazing feeling, and there is nothing compared. I mean, I've never won the Open. I led the Open a couple of times after whatever it was coming close to 54 holes, I think, in Troon and whatever you. And it's different because you're playing for yourself. But then, when you are still playing for yourself on a Sunday in the singles in the Ryder Cup. But it just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on what the reason is, but the only thing I can say is it's probably because you're playing for a continent or you're playing for a team. You don't want to let the team down. But it is never been as nervous as I was on the first tee of the Ryder Cup.
Do you think there's a reason that's why Captain Gallagher put you with Longer, who is just... I don't think pressure ever gets to that guy. It just looks like he's let's use the...
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'd won the week before. I was a rookie. I was playing really well. And I'd played well in practice. And it's quite unusual for a rookie to go out in the afternoon. But to play with Bernard, I mean, it was just... And actually, we had a little story because he hooked it off the first into the bushes and I hit two lovely shots onto the green. And we halved the first. And then he hooked it into the bushes at the next and then didn't reach the green for two. And I hit a good shot into about 4 foot. And I think Lanny and Corey were about 20 foot. And Bernard did it, whatever it is, 30 foot away. And then he said, "Oh, you putt," he said, "because it's my putt, but you can putt for me. Get the birdie and then put the pressure on." But I missed my putt. And then one of them holed their putt. So we were one down. And then going down the third hole, he said to me, "Barry, I'm so sorry." He said, I played so much golf with you. I completely forgot it was just your second hole of the Ryder Cup. And maybe, I put too much pressure on you because I'd played so poorly the first two holes. He then proceeded to tell me a joke that finished on the 16th hole. And I could not repeat that joke because it was so rude, but it was very nice of him because he kept every couple of holes coming in and carrying on this joke. So the perfect gentleman, unbelievable player, unbelievable man, and still obviously playing unbelievable golf at 64.
It's incredible. Like, you watch him on the Champions Tour, it's like his body looks like he's 30 still. He still hits it out there, 285, 290. I mean, he's incredible. Like, he doesn't miss a beat.
He works incredibly hard on his physical side. And, I mean, he's just, he's different. He's very, very different. I mean, he's incredible player, very nice man, and he's dedicated to what he wants to be the best he can possibly, and he gets the best. There isn't a round where he walks up and thinks, "Well, I could have been one shot better." I don't think he does absolutely everything for the lowest score he possibly can make.
To me, it always shows how mentally tough he is to, he's overcome the putting yips 3 times or something. And, he arguably putts as good as now as he ever has in his career in his 60s, which is most guys don't do that. He's better than ever statistically. I think there was that one year on the Champions Tour a couple years ago. He had the best putting average of anyone in professional golf. That's how good he's rolling it. He's amazing.
Yeah. And I played with him when he had the yips, and it was just from 2 foot he could hit it 8 foot by. I mean, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. And then he went for down the locked arm, and then he was just like, oh, and he was shooting 63s and 62s again, because he always played. He never lost his game in the respect, just he lost his putting. But he is very, very strong mentally. I mean, I remember he lost. Well, he didn't lose, but I mean, he hit Halo on the last in Kiowa Island, whenever that was, whatever, Ryder Cup. And then the following week, he went and won the German Masters in Germany.
Yep.
I mean, unbelievable pressure he had on that last hole. And he had whatever it was, an 8-footer, wasn't it, or something to halve the match or whatever, and he missed that. And then flew to Germany and won the German Masters the following week, as if well, that was last week. This is this week. We're back to business.
Yeah, it's
incredible.
Yes, same with it shows how good you guys are, or how much the mental side of it is. I've interviewed Kelk a couple times, and he blew up in that, right, where he hit it in the water on 17 and was literally shaking on the beach afterwards, like a half nervous breakdown. Yeah, and couldn't stop crying. Next tournament he plays in, tied 4th.
Yeah. No, it's incredible.
I go, how do you just turn it back on? It's like, well, I took a week off and got myself up, and I'm playing well. And, he didn't go out there and miss the cut. He competed almost for a win again. I think he won that later that season somewhere. So it shows how the best it's a different level, right, of self-belief, dedication.
Yeah, I think, and it's also when you're not playing so well, you're actually only one round from being back. you just find something and then it clicks in and you think, oh Christ, yeah, that's brilliant. And then you're all you're interested in is what you're doing now. You forget about what happened, before. I don't know. It is, yeah. I mean, you have to be obviously mentally tough, and the golf is a game. So you get the right bounces, the wrong bounces. Things go well for you, some things don't go well for you. And we can, if you have a long career, you can be up there, be number one in the world, and then absolutely oblivious 3 or 4 years later. But if you believe in yourself, you'll still be able to play, and that's why Tiger's been incredible to be so far ahead of everybody else. When he was in his prime, was just incredible with so many good players around, Ernie and EJ and Phil and, all these wonderful, wonderful players who are still very good players. But he was just so far ahead, to win a major by whatever he won at Pebble Beach, to win by 11 shots or something like that. I mean, just
ridiculous.
Incredible. Yeah, ridiculous. Amazing.
Well, I've always said, my wife doesn't play a lot of golf, and if you went down the driving range at a PGA Tour event, from watching them hit balls, you can't tell who's 100th on the money list or number one. And it shows how much mental it is, right? They're all great.
Absolutely.
Right? And it just shows upstairs of the difference.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your game. What are you working on these days, and where will you be playing most of your golf? Will it be in Japan? Will it be on the Stay Shore? Like, what's 2022 looking like? And what are you working on a little here in the off season?
Well, the thing is that last year we obviously didn't play any, or 2020 we didn't play any tournaments. Our tour was completely cancelled, so we did nothing. I decided that I would paint my house on the outside, so I got all the scaffolding up, and it took me just over 2.5 months to paint the outside. Thoroughly loved it. In the summer in Sweden, there's amazing summers, the first summer we'd spent here. And on the last day, I was just packing up and I fell down the steps on the balcony and broke my foot. So I actually for 2020, I only played 21 rounds of golf that whole year, so which wasn't very much. Came out this year really struggling at the beginning of the year. Actually played in America, played it in Houston on the Champions Tour, and then played the PGA, and then I think came back for a couple of weeks and then went back to the US Open and US Senior Open. Just the whole year has been really difficult to swing the golf club. I don't know why. I didn't know why, but just towards the end, about 4 weeks ago, I went to see a chiropractor who didn't crack me, but he got me much more mobile. And I went to Italy and I finished 14th in Italy, but it was very windy, but I played lovely. And like I said earlier, you're just one round away from being back. And I'd struggled all year, but it was because of my mobility. I was swinging the club just with my arms. I wasn't turning my body at all because I couldn't. I think after breaking my foot and being on crutches and stuff like that, just lost the will to get onto the right side on the way back. And so I was just swinging my arms. I wasn't turning my shoulders. And it was a revelation. I actually went to see the guy today as well again. I went on he's got a machine called an ATM2. You'll have to Google it. It's like it straps it into it, isolates all the muscles except for the ones you need to work on. And it's been a revolution. I did 3 times with him, and literally just 10 minutes it is. 3 times before Italy, and I hit a few balls the day before I flew to Italy, and I hadn't played for 3 weeks. And I came home and said to my wife, Camilla, I said, she said, how did it go? I said, well, it was amazing. I hit a few balls, and I thought, what am I doing? There's something different straight away. And it was because I was actually turning my shoulders. So it was incredible. So now I went to see him today, and I hit a fe's balls on the range. And I'm just going to try and get myself a little bit fit and just trying to keep playing. I mean, it's going to be difficult in Sweden because it's so cold. The course is already shut now. It's on temporary greens. But I'll try to go 2 or 3 times a week and hit a few balls on the range, do a little bit of putting. They've got an indoor putting arena here, so I can go and hit a few putts and stuff and just try and keep my eye in until whether we get to play in February time, maybe. But if not, then it will be probably March will be my next event. So just have to see. I don't know whether I'll be able to come and play in America again next year, when I'll be exempt. I think maybe the PGA Championship. And Japan, if it opens up for us, then I'll probably play a few tournaments over there at the end of the year. but mainly on the EU Legends Tour. I think we might have around 20 tournaments next year, which would be great. We've only had 11 this year. So,
your swing changed much over the years based on ball or equipment? I mean, I always think guys your age had an interesting career of, starting off with a balata ball and a little wood, and now, say even 15 years ago, solid core ball, larger driver heads, all that stuff. Did you have to make any changes to optimize out from where you started to where the equipment is at today, essentially?
Not really. I haven't changed much at all, and actually the equipment, especially the driver, hasn't really. I always hit the ball very late, and I hit the ball very low, so I generate quite a lot of spin on the ball. So when the new drivers started to come out, I struggled a little bit because they want you to launch it high with less spin. And if I try to do that, then I'm staying behind it and I just don't hit it very well, but I can launch it up. But to be honest, because I hit it so flat and the balls don't come out the air quicker because they don't have spin. So it hasn't really helped me in that respect. So, but, I say it hasn't really helped me. I'm still probably hit the ball the same distance as I did in 1990, with about 265, 70 yards or something. But, a lot of the guys, especially I notice it now, I'm nearly 62, the guys that are coming out who are 50, that they're hitting it up to the 300 yard mark, or if not longer. So it's a different game. I mean, it's a totally different game with the equipment, I think, now from when we played. Lang has adapted very well, but he always hit the ball a little bit on the up. And I think the guys that hit it on the up obviously generate a lot more power, a lot less spin, and the launch angle is higher. So where, somebody like Jose Maria Olazabal, who also hits the ball down, he doesn't drive the ball. He's never driven the ball very well, but he doesn't drive the ball very far. So in that respect, yes, it's kept me playing because I still hit the ball as far as I used to, but I don't, I was always sort of in the top 10 of driving distances, where now I'm way, way down. I'm average, if below average, if anything. So, it's just a different way of playing with a different ball, a different club, a different way of hitting it.
Yeah, it's. I'm 48, so I still started off with that old stuff. And my first, professional teacher, we hit low hooks with everything, right? That was what we did. Take spin off of it, and I'm still old enough where it's, you adapt a little bit, but it was swing the iron easy and, hit big draws with everything. And now it's sort of, you watch a modern game, it's dead straight and get it to fall to the right and hit up on it 4 degrees or 3 degrees. It's
absolutely. Yeah. You're 10-degree driver and you make your contact at 14 degrees. Yeah. Where I was 10-degree driver and it was, in fact, it was 6.
Yeah. Well, hey, it'll work well in the open conditions or something like that, right? There's a reason you won the Scottish Open. There you go.
Absolutely.
I was going to bring that one up. What a hell of a win for your first one. I love that event. I love that it's now a Rolex series. I think that should be an elevated event. The history, you're over in Scotland, just, Scottish Open champion, right? I mean, what was that week like, and what's that one still like to know? Like, that was your first win of an event of that magnitude.
Yeah, it was amazing, really. I mean, I'd only been on tour 2 years. I'd not won before. I'd won a smaller tournament in '87. So, and I was playing terrible when I got there. I was playing really, really poorly. We played at Glen Eagles on the King's Course, where we're going to play the British Senior Open next year, which would be great. But I wasn't playing very well. I played terrible in the Pro-Am, and I was hitting balls on the range. And Bob Torrance walked by, and dear old Bob, Sam Torrance's father, and he said, "Hey, how you doing, Barry?" I said, "Oh, Bob, I'm hitting it bad." He said, "I can see why." He said, "You just need to straighten your right arm at impact." He said, "Just straighten your right arm." And then I went out and won by 3. So that was pretty much my first lesson, because my boss told me when I became an assistant at 16 that, you swing the club very naturally. Just learn how to swing the club, because there's no coach that can be on the course with you when you're playing in a tournament. And if you're not playing very well, you need to know your own swing. So I was 28 before I had my first sort of lesson. And, but it was great. And I started off okay. And then obviously, I was leading going to the last round and managed to shoot I think 3 under in the last round to win by 3 on you had so many great players of, Fred Couples, Payne Stewart, Hale Irwin, all these great players that were playing in the Open the following week. So they came over to play the Scottish Open, and it was amazing to win my first tournament there in Scotland on such a iconic golf course, but on the second best tournament of the year, really, third. We have the Open Championship, our PGA Championship, and the Scottish was right up there with those. So fantastic, absolutely fantastic, great memories.
Is it relief, or is it euphoria, or is it you can't believe it, or is it a little all of it of above when it's over? When you're going home back to the hotel holding that trophy from that event, is it a little bit of all of that of, oh my God, what have I done?
I think it's a bit of all of that. You have your goals, you strive to. The first year you try to keep your card, and then you think, well, okay, now I've kept my card. Next year maybe I can go a little bit higher in the order of merit, or try to win a tournament, or get in the top 3. You have your goals, and then, but to win such a big tournament on such a big stage, just my second year out was incredible. Yeah, and it was all the above. I mean, it was amazing, nerve-wracking, fantastic. Absolutely ecstatic to win that tournament, and actually people say, well, it's great to win. I said it was great to win, but then you have to then refocus to and I think it's much harder to win your second than it is your first.
Yeah, right. Because then you want to validate probably that first one, right? There's a difference.
Absolutely, and I think I mean it's harder because you've won once, and then you really want. Some people can't get over the fact that the whole goal has been to win the tournament. They've won the tournament, and then it's you get a bit deflated. But then then you've got to refocus. Well, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? So mine was obviously to win again, and I was lucky enough to win the German Masters in '92, and then I won the Swiss Masters in '93, the week before the Ryder Cup. So that was it took me 4 years before I won again. I had a load of seconds. I think I had 9 or 11 seconds. I think in on the tour. So you win 5-6 times and then have 9 seconds. It could have been really, really good. But sometimes you shot really low to finish second. Sometimes all my tournaments. I think all my tournaments that I won, I led going into the last round, and I won. So. Which was really, I didn't realise until something my brother told me a couple of years ago. He said, all those tournaments you won them all by leading going into the last round, which I thought was quite good, because then obviously I was quite good at front runner.
Yes, because most of the time it doesn't happen at that level, right? Usually...
No. If you win your first one, you win your first one because you come from behind and you've not had too much pressure. But to lead going into the last round and to win was the same with the German Masters, same with the Swiss Masters. That was with Pete Sevi and Jimenez, actually, at the Swiss Masters.
Is there a different level of respect, too, from the players when you do back it up? And I mean, you guys all respect each other, but I mean, when you get win 2, 3, 4, 5, there is a difference, right? Where there's just I
think there's a difference if you win multiple times than there is if you just won once. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was lucky enough to get my card in 86, and then I stayed on tour till 2012, I think. So I was 52 and I was still exempt. So, I mean, to play all those years and still be able to play and keep your card is very nice, I have to say. And people ask me why, and I said, I think because I was a pretty good ball striker. I hit a lot of fairways and I hit a lot of greens. So I was never the best putter, but when I have a good putting week, then I was obviously up there or had a chance. But I was always pretty good. I drove the ball quite a nice distance, and I hit a lot of fairways and a lot of greens, where today is totally different. It doesn't matter whether you hit the fairways, I think, as long as you can find it and you can hit it again. And most guys can hit the sand wedge 100 yards, and if it's 440-yard hole and you drive it 340, you only got 100 yards. So it doesn't really matter if you're in the rough. But it, obviously does because of control, but, they still can reach the greens, where, I think the first time I ever really noticed anything was when John Daly won that PGA Championship, where he was going down. Sevi said, I have to hit down the fairway there, and I'm hitting a 4-iron in. He's going over there, hitting the rough and hitting the 9-iron.
Right.
But if I hit my ball on his line and he's in the rough, I can't hit a 5-iron out of the rough.
Right.
I can still only hit a 9-iron. So, that was when the length thing started, I think, for the guys who were really, really long. It's a different golf course. And I think that's what it is now. You cannot compete unless you can drive it 300 yards, if not more.
Open Championship's my favorite event in the world. What's the 2 or 3 best golf courses from an architectural standpoint, in your opinion, in that rotation?
Turnberry, but I loved Turnberry. I thought it was an amazing golf course, and I think it's been redesigned and it's even better now. I think it's the best course, but whether it will go politically, whether it will go back on the rotor, I don't know. But Trump is just, the Trump Turnberry is just incredible golf course. And it shouldn't be political with somebody's name on it, that it won't be on the roster. But that would probably be my favourite. Second favourite would be Birkdale, pure golf course. And St Andrews has to be in there as well, my top 3. Just because of what it is. I think you love it or you hate it. I absolutely love it. It's going to be very interesting when they play next year, because they can't make it any longer, and if there's no wind, I think it will be absolutely destroyed. I think somebody will break 60. I really do.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, what do you do with it at some point, right? Unless it's going to blow. I mean, is it going to be to the point where that thing is going to be hard to have the regular tour out there any longer? If someone shoots 29 under par?
Well, this is the thing. To be honest, with any of the links courses, if it doesn't blow, that they're not difficult, to be honest, because you can, most of the guys will blow it past most of the bunkers. But I think they will have to do something with the equipment. I mean, that's the only way, or they have to take it off the roster, because, which will be a real shame. But I think they've missed the boat a little bit. I mean, whether they did, reduce the length of a driver or something. I mean, that's a little bit. I mean, just do something with the ball. Do something with the ball. I mean, you can't do anything with the clubs, I don't think, anymore now. And for the manufacturers and manufacturing golf clubs and set all their tools up and everything. I mean, but do something with the ball. Make it spin more or something. They're so far behind, I think, the R&A and the USJ, in my opinion. They've missed the boat a little bit, and now they're trying to catch up. But just by reducing a driver's length to 46 inches, I mean, it's a bit like with the long putter, just make it a maximum length of 34 inches, but then they would probably get sued by every manufacturer making long putters. So that's probably the reason why they didn't do it. So that's why they made it a rule change. But I think St Andrews, Birkdale, and Turnberry are my 3 favourite links courses. I think maybe because they're the fairest. You play well around there, you do really well, and some of the others you can get away with. I think those you not really get away with. If you're wayward, you're not going to get away with it. Where some of the other courses you can, but I think they're my 3 favourite courses.
Would you be okay from a rule standpoint if there was a bifurcation where I can just use the ball that's current because I drive it 265 yards, I'm not going to overpower anything, and then let the elite amateurs and pros have to deal with a ball that spins more? Because I don't know if we necessarily want to punish 15 handicaps, right? I
don't want it to be universal. We have our own local rules. We have rules on our tour that you do not have rules at your golf club. Special rules that we bring in each week for dropping a ball, immovable obstructions or whatever.
Yep.
Bring in a ball or equipment or whatever they're going to do, or bring in a ball for the elite players so that we play on a tour with this ball, and just let the manufacturers do their R&D and make it easier for everybody else to play. But it's a bit like baseball. They don't give the guys aluminium bats because they'd have to change every stadium in the whole of America. So they have wooden bats. It's the same with the Olympic javelin. They keep moving the handle forward so it comes out the air quicker, because otherwise they'll be pitching it in the stands.
Right.
It's just to tweak it, but just for the elite, not for the general public. You get the kids out there with aluminium bats or whatever they're doing, with a baseball, but the elite professionals should be playing with a different equipment to bring, to keep the cost down for these golf courses, to not make them 8,000 yards long, just to make the game, bring it back a little bit, because I think it's gone too far. You used to have guys. It's all been an advantage if somebody hits the ball a long way, but now it's just you have to, otherwise you cannot compete on tour. And there's a few courses where you would be able to, in America where Hogan used to be, they play that course. That's quite a short little course. There's a few of them that are quite short, but most of them are bombers. And I see in Houston this weekend, I mean, it looked like a wonderful golf course, and 10 under par won it. It was great to see them struggle to try and hit the fairways. If they couldn't hit the fairways, it would struggle to keep it on the greens, small greens, tricky around the greens. I thought that was so much more fun than guys shooting 30 under par.
Yeah, I agree. To me, the easiest solution is just I'm with you. You have the pros or elite amateur levels have a bifurcation of the rules for the one ball. And don't give me a different ball. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to overpower a 6,500-yard golf course. So, right, let it be, right? And golf's hard enough. If you look at most handicaps, they haven't gone down that much. So just split it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know why they just won't do it that way. For some reason, they want everyone to play under the same rules. And as you're saying, they really don't. And then if you ever go watch a professional PGA Tour event, for example, they're not playing the same game, even as a good one handicap does at their home club. It's
totally different.
It's totally different. I don't think people realize the difference of it, right? It's not the same game.
No, it's not the same game. Even, top amateurs, some of them obviously make it, but there's a few of the guys, top amateurs, but, if you've got a +4 at your golf club playing against a tour pro, it's just different. There's a different strike, I think a different attitude. It's just different. It's different. They are the best of the best. And even the guys that can't make, you look at the Monday qualifyings in America. I mean, it's just incredible the who's who of golf are still trying to qualify, and the scores they shoot are 61s and 60s and 62s.
60.
Four spots.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And you never heard of these guys. And that's how the depth of the talent is in the world for golf. But I think that a lot of it has changed because of the equipment. Before it was much more of a, you shot maker's game, where now it's brought a lot of people into the game, which is great for the game, but it's brought a lot of people into the professional game, and it's leveled it off, I think, that you very rarely get somebody that's super, super good. I mean, obviously Tiger, but a lot of the other guys are all really, really good, or there's a lot of super, super good players, where before you had the odd one or two who were really good. But I think with the equipment and the ball, I think it's brought the whole game to the masses, but it's brought the whole professional game much closer together.
Yeah, I mean, look at the scores for the Champions Tour qualifying school. Of those, was it 3 or 4 spots? Like, the scores are ridiculous for Q School just to get your card out there. And, and then...
That's this week? Is it the first stage this week, or was it last week?
I think it's this week. I think it's this week.
Is it this week? Yeah.
That's the hardest tour in the world to get exempt on. And the scores, and everyone thinks, those golf courses are a pushover. No, they're not.
Yeah, they're not. No, I've played in a few of those, so I know they're not. It's not easy. Not easy. 5 spots and to get your card, and it's like any other tournament. If you're not playing well, you're never going to finish top 5. It's like playing. We have 22 chances in a year when we play. We might only win 1. It's a bit like Tiger. He might play whatever it is, 12. He might only win 5 of his 12. So the other 7, he didn't win. And if you can imagine, he didn't finish in the top 5. If one of those weeks he was trying to get his card on the tour or on a Champions Tour or whatever he is, he wouldn't be getting it. And I think that's the hardest thing is that, if you speak to all the guys, a lot of the guys on the Champions Tour, they said, well, if we went to the school, we wouldn't get a card.
Yeah.
No chance. Because we're lucky that we've had a great career and earn enough money to be on the, all-time money winners or whatever to be able to play.
Because basically to get exempt, I think it's 3 or 4 rounds, you're basically shooting 5 under par every day. 5 or 6 under. That's what it's going to take every day.
I played in Phoenix a couple of times there, and I think 17 under played off, something like that. And it wasn't an easy golf course.
That's exactly.
It wasn't an easy golf course. It's phenomenal.
Well, I want to bring out one more topic because I think you played the European Tour in the 80s. To me, had the greatest cast of characters, and it was a different period of athleticism. Let's call it. There might be a few nights where somebody in the top 10 on a Friday night still might be at the bar having a smoke and a cocktail and enjoying themselves a little bit, which doesn't happen anymore. So I want to talk about a few of these great players you probably played with, and they're characters of the game, and I love that era of golf, which kind of coincides with talking about, that was the basis of the Ryder Cup, resurgence from the Europeans, right? And these guys seem like they would be fun to hang out with back in the day. So I'm going to throw a couple names at you, and just let me know your quick thoughts on these greats from that era you played in with these guys. So from the Far East, I know you said you played with them a little bit. Jumbo Ozaki.
Yeah, Jumbo. I played a little bit with him and his brothers. Jumbo didn't really speak very much. Was a phenomenal player. Hit it great. He usually arrived in Japan. He arrived in a Rolls Royce pretty much every week. He had a guy, chauffeur. I think he had 2 Rolls Royces, and the guy would fly, and the guy would drive his Rolls Royce to be his courtesy car for the week. He tended to stay in a different hotel, but he was, whenever I played with him, he was very nice, but it was just mobbed with thousands and thousands of people. And he was if there was any superstar, he was a superstar. And actually, I think he's 74 years old now. He's still playing on the main tour. He doesn't play on the senior tour. He plays on the main tour. He maybe makes one cut a year. But he is a legend of all legends in Japan.
How good was he when you played with him in his heyday? He was crazy long, right? He just bombed it.
Yeah, crazy long. I mean, they all teed the ball up really high and had a very high swing and hit it all. They actually hit it on the up in those days where we were sort of low ball flights. He was really good. I mean, he was a good player. You saw that, a couple of times he led the Open. He had chances to win the Open, and was really, really, really good player. There've been a lot of very nice, good player. I mean, Aoki obviously was probably the first one to win. We won Hawaii. I think it was the first Japanese to win on the US tour. Now you've got some great players coming through now. It's amazing. But they have their own little tour. They have their own manufacturers. They make tailor-made, make different clubs there. Callaway are different clubs there. It's just for their market. It's an incredible country to go and play. I mean, amazing golf courses and very nice people. And I really enjoy going down there and playing still. I mean, I played in the 90s down there and done like Phoenix and stuff. But, I've been exempt for a few years over there on their senior tour. And it's great fun to see all the guys I play with, Nakajima and Tommy Nakajima and, these sort of Aoki's now just finishing playing. But it's fantastic. Great to see them.
Colin Montgomery.
And they're all smoking.
Oh, they still all smoke cigarettes over there like crazy too?
They're all smoking. Yeah, absolutely. But you're not allowed to smoke on the golf course anymore. So, but Monty, I've known Monty I actually played with Monty, I think it was his first tournament. I played a practice round with him in Leeds. Fantastic guy, so funny. Off the golf course, on the golf course, he can be a bear with a sore ass, but off the golf course, the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Unbelievable player to win 8 Order of Merits. I mean, I know it's Europe, but it was incredible to see him play, and some of the shots he played to win tournaments was amazing, and fantastic bloke. And he's mellowed a lot, I think, over the last few years. Now he's obviously playing on the Champions Tour, and it's the Hall of Famer, and but really nice fella. But he can be grumpy, that's for sure.
I think, though, over here now, we kind of like him a lot. Like, he went from people didn't like Monty. Like, I'm always been such a huge golf nut. I always loved his golf swing and what he did in Europe. You don't win 8 of them in a row without greatness. I mean, to me, he's greatness. I think the American public now loves Monty here. He goes to all of our national parks. He posts pictures on Instagram with cowboy hats when he's in Texas. Like, I think everyone over here is warmed up to him.
Yeah, because he drives everywhere.
Yeah.
He doesn't fly.
Exactly.
He hates flying, so he can drive from west to east coast, and he stops in little motels and everything. No, he's a good guy, Monty. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I think we've kind of embraced him over here now. He's kind of beloved, so it's switched a little. One of my favorites from this era, Sam Torrance.
Sam, a legend in his own lifetime. Sam, a really phenomenal player and a very, very nice guy. Sam, smoking his roll-ups and always put his pencil behind his ear because one day he put his hand in his pocket to get the pencil right up his nail. That's the reason why he always put it behind his ear. Was always great to me, great to the youngsters when they came on tour. You know, he won 25 times on our tour. It was Ryder Cup captain, Ryder Cup winning part. I mean, he did everything except win a major, and I think he's still very much loved by everybody. He doesn't play so much. Well, he hasn't played for about 3 or 4 years on our tour. Still see him now and again. He does a bit of commentary, but just a great guy, a great guy.
His commentary is fantastic. It's like he knows.
He's got a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, but he's also okay with being quiet and letting it just come to you, and then he'll make his little comment. And I mean, it's just, I think he gets it 100%. I love his style of, when you're watching the European feed over here, of his commentary on professional golf. Man, that is my style, and he just seems like he'd be a first-class guy. Like, I'd like to have a beer with that guy in a pub one night. Like, it'd be fun, I'd have to imagine.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, but maybe not just one.
Or I'll have 3 with him. Talent, right? Ian Wuznum. How good was that in its heyday of ball striking and just raw natural talent?
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He still is. I played with him actually twice in the last 2 weeks. We played in the UK the last round, and then I got drawn with him the first 2 rounds in Austria. Phenomenal, and he's actually playing really nice. He's had a surgery on his back to fuse some things in his back, and this last few weeks that we played, he was hitting the ball beautifully. Phenomenal was he. Again, you know, came up from a little place up in North Wales and came on the scene around my son just before me. I've known him since about 83 because he used to come and practice at our golf course. And he travelled in a mobile home to, well, it's more like a caravan really than a mobile home. And him and DJ Russell travelled around. Phenomenal. I mean, just incredible ball striker, an incredible player. I mean, it's hard to describe how good he was. I mean, and still now the sound off the club is like a gunshot. I took a video about 3 weeks ago of him and in Austria. It was just phenomenal how well he played when we played, and he's starting to enjoy again now. So I think look out for him next year. I think he's got his looking forward to playing. He's not feeling. His back is feeling good, so I don't know whether he'll come and play on the Champions Tour because he is exempt, but I don't know whether he'll come and play. I think he enjoys playing in Europe with his friends. I think maybe if Peter Baker gets his card, he's gone over there. He's a very good friend of his. Maybe he'll come back and play in the Champions Tour. I think he misses the camaraderie of having a few beers with the guys.
Another one that would be, okay, I want to have a beer with Sam Torrance and Ian Wuznum. That would be 3 or 4. That would be good stories of the evening. And his golf swing, to me, was just always so efficient, right? There's just like no wasted motion. It was like a piston where it's just so neutral. The club is in a beautiful position to strike the ball. Strong. Yeah. Oh, gosh, right? Like that golf swing is just, it's still modern. I mean, right? You could take that swing today and it's still that modern hard body rotation. You know, there's just no wasted motion in that.
No wasted motion. No, and he's strong. He was so strong, and he still is. I mean, he hit some enormous drives when I played with him the other week. I mean, just back, and he was smiling, so it's good to see. I mean, a great guy. He's always been a great guy, but a phenomenal player. Yeah, absolutely. His heyday was amazing, but still is, and a great guy. A lot of respect for Wuz.
Sandy Lyle, right? Was there anybody when he was on who played better in that era?
I don't think so. I mean, Sandy had his own way of swinging the golf club and his own way of playing, his attitude, and he's never changed his attitude. He's still happy-go-lucky, but phenomenal player as well. You know, I mean, I think I think it's a shame that a lot of the guys didn't play a lot more in America in those days. It was quite difficult to get into America. Now, I mean, I know they did play over there, but it seems that you're getting quite a lot of the guys going to play full time. Shane Lowry won the Open, obviously. Rory's over there. There's another guy called Ra who's going to come over and play, and I think we didn't really have the opportunity to do that. And I think we have some really good players now, but Sandy was he could hit anything. He could hit any shot. I mean, that shot he hit in the Masters. I mean, that was just him. And his hat was halfway across his head, and it's just him. He just played, and I think was just phenomenal. He hit it so far. I mean, so far. And he just stood up there and hit it and walked after it, found it and hit it again. I don't think he really knew how he did it. He just did it.
Yeah, people said like when the right moment was there, he might have been the best of that kind of great generation, right? When he was really on all 8 cylinders from guys. It said he hit it so far and was such a natural talent, but it could kind of come and go a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't think he knew exactly how he did it. He just did it. And I think then he got a little bit into the swing thing and lost it and then came back again. But yeah, he was, there was some, I mean, Wuzzy and him were phenomenal. I mean, obviously Sam was very good, but, you got Faldo, you got so many, Sevi, Elazabeth, all those, so many good players. But Sandy was I think Sandy and Wuzzy were the best two, to be honest. I mean, Faldo obviously proved that he was amazing with 5 major championships. But to play with, my dream four ball would be myself, Sevi, Wuzzy, and Sandy, because you would get everything then.
Well, we can't end this with my last one was Sevi. So I mean, even over here growing up, you didn't have to be a rocket scientist as a 10-year-old to watch that guy on TV and go, whatever that guy's selling, I want to buy it, right? I mean, it just came through incredible. The television of looks and charisma and attitude and handsome and he just looked good on the golf course, didn't he? I mean,
yeah, he did. I mean, it looks like he was born with a club in his hand. He just looks so comfortable, and I mean, it's just so nice that we've got so much footage of him swinging the golf club. But a lovely fella again. He did, whenever he walked in the players' lounge, everybody turned round. You knew he was there. He had a presence. Something, and he was always great to play with. He did play little games with you, a little bit of mind games if he wasn't doing great, but he did it in a nice way, and you got drawn with him. You were just so looking forward to playing because you knew, however he played, he would do something special. In every round there was a shot that you think, well, I could never do that. It's just amazing. And he was very nice. If you played well or if you won or whatever, and you were in his company, and he would always, say, well done, great to see. And, and I actually played with a friend of mine the other week, another pro, and that we played in the Pro-Am together. And there's a nice story because the guy said, oh, how was he? And I said, well, it was amazing, really. I said, when I won in Switzerland, I beat him by a shot. He chipped in at the last, hit it from behind a swimming pool. I said, just short the green, chipped it in. But I won for a birdie 17. And he said to me in the prize game, he said, oh, Barry, you're so lucky, huh? I said, what do you mean lucky? He said, oh, you whole long putt on 17. I said, what about you on the 18th? He said, oh, no problem for me. So he was, it was never anything. And he said, he said to Roger, that my friend said, I played with him. And I wasn't having a very good day on the Friday. And he came over to me on number 13. He said, you birdie the last 4 hole, you make the cut, you try, you've got to try. And then Roger birdied 3 of the last 4 holes and he made the cut in the mark. He said, see, I told you, you need me to caddy for you, give you some energy. So, he was that sort of, he's encouraging the other guys to play, to fight, to make the cut. And so he cared, and he just, he was so sorely missed. I tell you, it was just fantastic, and so lucky to have been able to play through his prime and with him many times, and be in his company. And very funny man, and lots of stories. Some I can tell, and some I can't.
Is it the best short game you've ever seen?
The best by far. Never carried anything higher than a 54 degree. And he could hit, I remember doing it at 54. He did everything. Yeah, never had anything higher than a 54. That was never. He wanted to ban 60 degrees. He didn't want anybody to have a 60 degree wedge. He said you can do every shot with a 54. You just need to learn. But I did an exhibition they did a company day for him down it was in Sweden, and we did a little thing in the bunker, and we said there's no point us hitting shots. Sevi, you hit. And I said, I hear you can hit a 3-iron, and he hit 3 bunker shots with a 3-iron, and the flag was literally 12 feet, maybe 13 feet out of the bunker, and not one of them went past the hole. It was the most unbelievable thing. I mean, his feet were aiming. I mean, honestly, they were 50, 60, 70 yards left of. So it was basically playing it off the back foot with the club face aiming at the target and the feet. You know, it was amazing. And to actually catch it, and he catches it. He said, "I just catch it off the toe, just a little tiny bit of the 3-iron on the toe, and he digs it in toe end first. It just we just were in awe." When we didn't have video cameras, you know, I mean, if we'd had mobile phones, it would have been amazing. But, you know, it was in the early 90s and stuff. So, you know, nobody was videoing or anything. It was just incredible. And just amazing game, amazing player, unbelievable charisma, so smart, but was very encouraging and you know, wasn't a loner or anything like that. He'd always come and sit and have lunch with you and chat and how you doing, and lovely. I mean, lovely.
Well, the other cool part is that, you know, I've interviewed like maybe 100 players or things that now in this podcast, and some of the guys who are on the Champions Tour now, when he would come over and play in the States, he would give them short game lessons. He was that generous with his time. Like Tom Pernice Jr. talks about, he worked with Seve all the time. And Seve was that generous of, no, Tom, you don't do it that way, right? You know, and then he worked with people all the time, and he was that big of a superstar. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
They said he was awesome.
You don't get that anymore. Awesome. No, he was. And that was the thing. He was so approachable. And, you know, you knew full well if you went in a bunker and he was in the bunker, he would come over and have a little look at you. So if you ever had any problems, then just make sure you were there when he was chipping, because you could ask him, you could say to him, you know, I'm struggling with this. Can you have a look? Yeah, no problem. And he would come and have a look. He said, well, this is the way I do it. This is what I see. And whatever, he'd give you his thoughts. You know, I mean, it was, you know, for number one in the world superstar to come over and say, you know, you could ask him at lunch and say, you know, are you going to chipping? Oh, we'll go now. Come on. We'll go now. You know, and he'd take you from the players' lounge to give you a lesson.
That's what I've heard. Like, he'd be very generous with his time, even to the American players.
Yeah, anybody. He didn't care. He's, you know, everybody gave him a bit of a rap for the Ryder Cup, and he was very determined to beat the Americans. I mean, he loved to beat the USA in the Ryder Cup, but he was never begrudge anybody beating him, or, you know, he wanted to win, and he wanted to win it any way he possibly could. But when the Ryder Cup was over, poff, that's it. We're now back to individual. I'd love to play there. Oh yeah, are you okay? Yeah, no problem at all. Do you want a lesson? Yeah. Nicest guy you've ever met.
Total legend. Well, I can't thank you enough for this time. I'm hoping you get your, I know you were looking at maybe trying to win for the 5th decade, which would be very cool. So we'll be watching next season. Yeah, that would be cool to have. I mean, that would be a pretty damn good run there, Pro, if you get them in 5 decades. So, you know, hope you stay.
Two in 2019, and then we had that year off, which was a shame. So, but no, I'm looking forward to getting back into it next year. Absolutely, especially this last few weeks. So, but thank you for inviting me. It's very kind of you to even consider me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.